Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's edition of the Gamut Network. I have a woman on the show today that probably was one of the first people that I approached or was connected to for Runway of Dreams back in 2015. And to be able to say that she has become such a dear friend and an important part of my life is such an honor and a privilege. And I cannot wait to share her story with all of you. So with that, welcome, Meg.
Thank you, Mindy. It's so good to be here. Thank you so much.
You look as beautiful as always.
Oh, right back at you. You're my fashion inspiration, as you know.
Meg, can you share with our audience? Yeah. I want them to understand who you are. I want them to hear your journey, and then we're going to talk about the amazing work that you're doing right now. But let's just start with your personal journey, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I don't know if you guys can tell. I was born with a condition called ectrodactyly, which although my kids, 2 out of 3 of them who share my genetic condition tell me it's not ectrodactyly, it's oligodactyly. I don't know. They said, no, Mom, you only have 1 finger, so you're wrong. So apparently I've been wrong about my condition already, but I have a physical difference. My own personal story is that I was born looking blatantly different at a time that certainly no one could go on the internet and check and see, is there anyone else, does anyone else have 1 finger like me? And so I felt that I was the only one that was different. And in fact, my parents, although they're from New York City, we lived in Illinois and in fact grew up in 5 countries in the Middle East. And in that experience, it was really hard for me. I mean, people would walk up to my family and think that, they were cursed because I was born like this, and people would run away. It was a really difficult experience being me. On the other hand, not really, because my genetics were with me entirely. I mean, I'm very social, I'm very outgoing, and I am very fortunate to have just been born also with a really, really positive outlook on life. And so I was just really happy little girl and a very social little girl initially. And then I'll speed it up to say that, teen years, you start to, or maybe preteen years, that's when I started hiding my hands more. I was
overseas still at that point, or were you in the US?
I was in overseas still until I was in middle school, and then in the U.S. most of high school, although a little bit of, we came back to the U.S. for the end of middle school. So I was definitely...
To high school, I'm curious, especially when you live overseas. Do you feel that this was something innately in you, that you were able to manage through this incredibly challenging time? And or was it also the support of your family that gave you that extra confidence?
It's a great question, Mindy, and it was all me. No, it wasn't all me.
It was all you.
It wasn't all me. No, I mean, look, my one of my favorite expressions is let go and let live. I think parents of a child that is, blatantly physically different can take different lanes of approaches. Many parents, and I understand that, my being a parent of children that are different as well, physically different as well, would take the lane not only of being protective, but even overprotective.
Absolutely.
And my parents were the opposite. They really allowed, even though no one else at the time was born with my condition except for me, they really did let me let go and let live. And so they allowed me, whatever I wanted to do, whether it was to, play basketball, ride a bike, run around with my brothers, do anything, play trombone. I mean, anything that my heart desired, maybe inside they were like kind of, cringing, can she do that? But they allowed me to do it. And by doing that, it gave me level of confidence in myself that I needed to just sort of go for it, never doubting myself. And I think, so to answer your question, yeah, I think it's a combination of the fact that I have a natural positive disposition, but I also was raised by parents who never ever told me that I couldn't do something. They just said, try it, go for it, and we'll support you whatever you're able to do and make it. And I'll give you an example, Mindy, like a trombone I was mentioning. So I play the trombone, but if, for anyone that plays a trombone, they know that it has 6 positions, and I have shortened forearms. And so my arms couldn't reach all the way to get to 6 positions. So my parents went to a music store and said, can you create an extension so that she can actually reach all the positions? And that's what they did. They created this. It was really ugly, but it didn't matter. I got the job done, and I got to play trombone just like I wanted to. So they were really supportive in so many ways like that.
And I do want to mention that your brothers did not have the condition, correct?
Right. My parents didn't. My brothers didn't. I think the best way to describe my life back then was, I mean, when we did come home to the States for the summers, I remember going to see the fireworks on 4th of July. And as everybody would be looking up at the fireworks, it was my opportunity to look around and look at the crowd. Was there anyone different like me? I just long to feel connected. And actually, when we talk a little bit more about some of the things I'm doing.
Yes, it's a little foreshadowing about.
Yeah, a little foreshadowing that I did long to feel connected. And you start to realize that when you have anxieties of any kind, it helps to know that you're not the only one.
Absolutely. Okay, so now take us to, we're in the United States now in high school. So Let me just set the stage here, because I think, moving from another country to the United States during high school is enough on your plate in and of itself. And then let's put in a physical difference and take it from there. What was it like?
So I came back, and because of my personality and just strong drive to do anything, I became a cheerleader. I was in the marching band. I was in speech and debate. I mean, I just was on a mission to just be like everyone else. And in some ways that sounds great, but in some ways it wasn't, because I wasn't like everybody else. I just wanted to be like everybody else. And so I was on a mission to prove to others and to myself that I was capable of anything and everything. And I really actually resented if anybody would, raise my difference and hold it up like, are you sure you can do that? Or questioning things, or even trying to help me was a big thing. Like, I had become so independent. I'm ashamed to say, like, I was practically resentful and angry when people would help. It took me years, Mindy. So the high school me, people were sort of inserting themselves, trying to, ever segregate me as different. I'd be resentful and sort of like, why are you trying to help me? What do you mean? And, it would take me years of maturity to sort of think, number one, that's a very beautiful person that wants to help people. And secondly, if I do express any type of anger or resentment to them, then the next time they try to help someone brain, and I've caused that negative downturn in terms of that person's behavior. So the high school person in me was just more about focusing on, getting into college, and then ultimately going to law school too.
And what would you say to your younger self now, if you could give advice to that high school Meg? What would you say to her in terms of her attitude towards your difference?
High school Meg was, long to have, I was kind of boy crazy, except every boy put me into the friend zone. And I was consumed with, finding someone to want to date me and to love me and so forth. And I as I grew older, I did find some, more mature, people that wanted to date me. But to answer your question, I needed to find self-love before I, sought external love. And so I think what I would tell my high school self is focus on that deeper work first, and don't long for the external, because I think by longing for it, I was sort of backwards in the order of, finding something successful. And, I guess that's my answer to you.
I love it. So I want to go back to what you just said, that so you graduated college and law school, met an amazing man who I adore, love you, John. And I want to say that you have this illustrious career aside of what we're going to talk about, because that is still like the thing that blows my mind, that you have a major day job, which is what?
So I have been working on Wall Street for about 25 years in the field of anti-money laundering and anti-terrorism. And so I was originally did a little entertainment law when I was in law school. And I had come to New York City for law school. And so I was really focused on just my career. And the fact that I was physically different was just sort of a part of me, but nothing I really focused on and even cared about, because I really just wanted to become a successful attorney in this field where I wanted to put bad people in jail. And I still do want to put bad people in jail.
What caused you to say, hold on, I think I have an opportunity here to create a platform?
So I think I should say one of my biggest fears was having children that would share my genetic condition. The thought of it was just absolutely terrifying to me. Not that I hadn't had a great life, actually. And as you mentioned, met this amazing man. We've now been married 20 years. So so it's kind of silly.
We got married the same day.
Oh my God. And we got married. And we got married the same day. I forgot, Mindy, we did. It's kind of silly to think that I had this big fear, but I did, because I was so afraid, back then, that they might want to blame me, for doing this to them. And, meanwhile, John was sort of like, well, you came out great, so what's the problem? So of course, the universe and God and any force that comes into the decision making, except for me, decided for us to have children that had my physical difference. And Charlie and Ethan, our older two kids, not Savannah, our daughter, have ectrodactyly, or whatever it is, allodactyly. Well, Charlie has 2 fingers on each hand, so he truly has ectrodactyly for sure. Ethan has one like me. So I say that to you, Mindy, because once I had my children that had my physical difference, anybody that has a child, instant unconditional love, and you're not going to hide your children from anybody. And so quite frankly, that catapulted me by loving them unconditionally. It sort of forced this reckoning over me to unconditionally love myself in that same way. Yeah, so it was really important in that moment. So to answer your question, though, when Ethan, our oldest, was in first grade, he went to elementary school, and he was bullied on the playground by a group of 5 kids for being different at recess. And they surrounded him against a tree and mocked him for only having 1 finger on each hand. And the principal, afterwards, we met with her, and she said, well, let's talk about this. And we had a conversation, and she asked for my advice about how can the teacher support him. And she said, Meg, I'd really like you to come and speak to the faculty. Can you speak about how can the teachers help a kid that's different? So I got, I left work early that day and went and spoke. And then it was almost like a thunderbolt, like feeling, Mindy, where I'm like, wait a minute, I feel like maybe this whole experience, life experience, happened for a reason. And I think I have something to share, and I can help people in a way that I never imagined I could. But there was something else that was kind of gnawing at me, which is they kept wanting me to help teachers help kids like my son who's different. And tons of kids have different differences, of course. But I kept thinking, well, what about the invisible differences? Those kids have something that they can automatically hide. But maybe, I have this concept from shame to shine. Like, how do I get kids? How do I empower kids that are different or feel different to shine about that and not hide that from people, and not care, what people think. And then the rest of the kids that don't even feel they were different, the kids that even were willing to mock Ethan, how do I get them to sort of understand that we all have our version of two fingers to hide, and that, once I could have them tap into that element of their own lives, or maybe it's something about their family, I could create empathy. And so when that happened, Scholastic I started writing for like Parents Magazine and different kind of parenting magazines and other, and
about this concept of, I almost just gave away the name. Shine. That concept.
Yeah. So I'll say that I spoke to the folks at Scholastic. They had featured me. It was this article, Mom on a Mission, and I had piloted this program. And I created, at that point, it was sort of like a blog. So I was writing, we called it Don't Hide It, Flaunt It. And which is now the name of our nonprofit, of course. It started out as a blog. And they helped me feature this program. And the program essentially, which is now 6 years later, started out in some local schools in New Jersey or New York and so forth, where kids are prompted to either create art or write an essay with a theme I developed. The things that make me different make me me. And so when that happened, all of a sudden there was just kids that had disabilities and differences that wrote, but there was also kids that just got braces and were embarrassed, or glasses. They were short, they were tall.
The spectrum of shining a light on what a difference is. It doesn't have to, be something that is having one finger on each hand. It could be exactly what you said, having to wear glasses that are crazy thick, or, something that is just, it points out, it levels the playing field.
Yeah, it's interesting. And like there was a girl we piloted originally, and she has epilepsy, and the mom wrote to me and could not believe, after participating in the Kids Flaunt, it's the Kids Flaunt program, she said not only did she write about it, but then after that she accelerated her pride, and so all of a sudden she wanted to do a class presentation on epilepsy and what is it. And so I have this concept, Mindy, of I am driven to help kids become a something to a someone, to their peers, and also adults too. And so that's what this program has allowed us to do. And so with Scholastic as our partner, now we're in our 6th year, and Kids Flaunt runs every fall in all public and private schools in the United States.
It's absolutely unbelievable. And there's so many things that are absolutely spectacular about this program, but one thing that I want to certainly highlight is the impact that you are making during a time in these kids' lives that they will carry through for the rest of their life. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to speak at companies or whatnot, and they have shared with me that there's plenty of people, that employees that will not reveal their disability because of the impact they're afraid that it will have on how people view them. So absolutely. We have, you are helping to have a generation of people, kids that are going to grow up and not feel that way, and be able to be comfortable in what makes them different, makes them them. And I think that I hope you realize the massive impact that you single-handedly are having on a generation and generations to come about how disability or difference is viewed. It's spectacular.
I thank you for that. And when you asked me the question, what would I tell my younger self? You said teenage self, but my younger self would have loved a program like this, would have loved the opportunity. especially living, I mean, I lived in like Pakistan, Afghanistan, Israel, Egypt, Iran. I mean, really places where I would have loved to have been able to stand up in front of the class and really let them know exactly. Hopefully they would have understood me in a different language, but but let them know about and educate them. So and now Don't Hide It, Flaunt It. I mean, we as I mentioned, we're a nonprofit, but we do diversity and inclusion, programs across the country. We have Take Your Kid to Work Day, Flaunt It programs, although these were canceled because of the pandemic, of course, this year. But there's so much growth that we've been doing, and in fact, I think I mentioned we're doing something immediately right now too.
I would love to know about that because it's very it's important for what's happening in our world right now with COVID-19. So can you tell us about this new program that you're launching?
Yes, we received an emergency grant in response to the pandemic. The CDC guidelines focused on mental health, and actually May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and the anxieties that everybody is experiencing through this are through the roof, whether sick or healthy, right? And so we saw an opportunity that kind of harkens back to what I was talking to you before, which is when you feel like you're alone in something, you feel more anxious about it. When you feel like you're more of a community, it helps relieve the stress. And so one of the things that has been occurred to me, my best ideas are in the shower. So
in the car. I find I'm like brilliant in the car by myself.
Really? In the shower, I'm like, wait, I have an idea. But my idea was, and actually this amazing girl named Avery Blake from LA, she is 11 years old, and someone had sent me a drawing of hers, and it was herself in a mask. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden I thought, obviously everyone can read the news, watch the news, it's a lot of adults talking and sharing and yeah, are they focused on kids? Of course they are. And everybody is now in a remote learning environment, and especially parents are finding themselves, at home with their kids, trying to do their work from home if they're fortunate enough to be able to have a job like that. But, there's a lot of stress. But there's no voice for the kids. And, I haven't seen anything to date that demonstrates sort of like, okay, they've been thrust into a new environment. What is it that what is life like for them? And so we are launching on May 15th with Ava Michelle, who's an actress. She's the star of Tall Girl. An amazing new campaign. She's our ambassador, a youth ambassador, called We Are All Connected. And essentially, with Scholastic as our partner, and this is getting pushed out across the United States, but we're so excited for people to participate. We're asking for parents and kids and teenagers to reflect on the experience, and then also get inspired by, like, what have you done? Maybe you've made a mask, or maybe you've actually made a meal for the first time for your family, or maybe you're just grateful for nurses and doctors and you want to draw or have a picture of yourself holding a magazine, proud of them, and or of what they've been doing. I mean, what's nice about this opportunity is it's really just, it can run the gamut of exactly what they want people to know their experience is like, and then hashtag it We're All Connected. Tag Just Flaunted _, which is us. So my organization, so we can see these amazing pictures, drawings, photos. But our goal and plan is for kids across the country, teens across the country, to become a community together in sharing their own unique experience, and give them that platform. Decrease the anxieties by knowing that they're not alone. And our hope is that parents of younger children, of course, will post it directly, these pictures on their own social media accounts starting May 15th, and it runs until the end of June. So sorry, I hope I didn't interrupt you.
Not at all. I wanted everybody to hear exactly what they need to do. So Kim, I just want to go back to make sure that everybody really knows if they want to participate in this, How do they do it
Yep.
for this campaign specifically?
So if they want to participate, first of all, starting May 15th, they can go to the Don't Hide It, Flaunt It's Facebook page, because we'll have a link there to the Scholastic page. The Scholastic page will give instructions, but here's the bottom line, because it's pretty simple. Just have your kids create art. It could be a drawing, it could be a painting or something that shares what their life is like. I gave that example of the girl with the mask on her face, but just it could be them just wanting to draw themselves at home with their parents, and this is my family at home together. Or take a picture. We have a picture of a girl who's donating. She's a teenager and she spends her time donating food in New York City to people that can't get out, as well as to first responders. So to be clear, have your kids do it, or have them take a picture and then post it to social media starting May 15th with the hashtag We're All Connected, and then add the tag Just Flaunted _ or tag us Just Flaunted _ and we're excited for this to really launch in a big way.
How beautiful. So the kind of purpose or underlining meaning of this is for kids to feel connected, obviously kids and teenagers, about how, and there's in our lifetime and probably for lifetimes to come, there has never been a time that everybody is in the same boat.
So,
it's so fascinating, and that is something that I think that you are trying to capture.
well, I am, and it's interesting because originally I was gonna name it We're All Different, We're All Connected, and one of the reasons, and then it was too long. So I was like, okay, it's too long. So, but I want to say, because of your audience, Mindy, this is particularly, I think, important. When any of us have children or teenagers that are physically different or disabled, or then we're always feeling like our kids are unique in their space. It's not very frequent that we get this opportunity to sort of go from to a shining place, which is to demonstrate, here's us at home during this, and for our children, our teenagers, to see, well, wait a minute, every other kid is home like you in the same or similar way. And so to me, the community and your audience, to bring in that element as well, is so important to what we're trying to do as well. And again, the focus of relieving anxieties, as well as create empathy across communities of teenagers and children in the United States.
Amazing. And once again, always so spectacular. Everything that you do, Meg, you are a tornado of unbelievable.
I live in Illinois. I've been in tornadoes. That's a big statement.
It's still so amazing to me, and I know I say this every time, that this isn't even your day job. I mean, you have like a major job, and that you dedicate so much to something so incredibly important. And I highly, highly recommend everybody, please look into this new program, but definitely take a minute and stop and look at Don't Hide It, Flaunt It while you're on your way to working on her new program, because it is such an incredible platform, and one that is something that our kids can take with them in their life journey.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. I really do hope people participate. I think it's going to be really exciting, and I'm going to look forward to your community's posts, whether they're drawings or art, with that hashtag We're All Connected.
Amazing. It is always so wonderful to see you. I can't wait to hug you and see you in person. Thank you for joining us. It's always amazing to hear your story. And
oh my gosh. Thank you, Mindy. It's so good to see you.
If you would like to be on the Gamut Network, please email us at talent@gamutmanagement.com to tell us why you'd be a great guest. Please also remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel at the Gamut Network, as well as follow us on our social platforms at Gamut Management. Thank you again, Meg.
Bye. Stay healthy, everyone. Bye.